All right, welcome back to Champ Talk with Brandon Hudson, number 4. We've made it this far. Got a special guest today to my left, Mr. Mayor Jake Day. Jake, say hi.
How you doing?
Good, man.
Thanks
Good.
for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. It's a definitely an honor to have you coming on the 4th episode ever.
Likewise.
Of Champ Talk, man.
This is pretty early on.
Yes, man. Yes, I feel blessed, man. So looks like we're making a little bit of waves here.
I'm expecting hundreds of episodes, so this is going to
Well, you can say, I remember when.
Yeah, this could be on like the vintage, tapes.
That's right.
When Jake's president, he's something like the defining
Exactly.
moment
Yes,
of my
there you go.
career was Champ Talk with Brandon Hudson.
That's right.
We got to our left, Eric Evans, Coach Eric. How you doing, Coach?
I'm good, man. Glad to be back.
Good, man. Good. You got one more, so we're gonna see how this talk a little louder today.
That's right.
And
And you let
I'm
me come
trying
back
to.
too. So
yes,
thank
and Chet Corman all the way to the end, man. It's great. Great having everybody, man. I think the energy and the chemistry is going well with what we're doing here, and we're getting pretty good feedback.
That's what I keep hearing.
That's all right. We're getting there. We're getting all the nerves out and the jitters and stuff like that. But yeah, we're happy to hear we got a big day coming up, don't we?
We do have a big day coming up.
Yeah.
November 5th.
Yes,
It's a big day.
big day. So we got election day coming up. Hope everybody is geared up, ready to come support and put your name on the ballot, man. Just do something. I think that's gonna be the whole big point of what I got to talk about today is just how important it is to support local politics. You know what I mean? How important it is to support the county council meetings. How important it is to see anything that goes on in the town, whether it be with the the police department, with the fire department, with government, with churches. I mean, everybody plays a significant role. The small businesses, the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, I am certainly not your politician. You know what I mean? I don't know the thing about politics when it comes to it. But I do know how important it is for us to step up and be a part of that thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're the one that has to go out and see us every day in the community and say hi and stuff like that. Hillary and Trump, we don't get the chance to talk to them every day, right? Or whoever else is running nowadays.
It's too easy, with social media and with 24/7 news to think that the only public officials that affect your life are in Washington, D.C. But the reality is the things that they decide that truly affect every day for us are, few and far between.
Yeah.
It's not that much. Now, granted, I care about what happens in Washington. I'm sure you do too. I care about what's happening in Syria and Afghanistan, and I care about all that stuff with our healthcare and whatever. But the reality is, at the end of the day, the people who are making decisions about your safety, the people who are making decisions about whether when your trash is getting picked up, and what's happening with homeless people in your community, and what there is for young people to do, and what kind of future those young people have, and who's taking care of the streets. Those decisions are getting made in town halls and in council chambers and in government office buildings. They're not getting made in Washington, D.C. or even Annapolis. I mean, that's stuff that matters.
Right.
And I know it's not the most exciting, sexy thing in the world necessarily, but there's a lot of good that can come when we are a well-oiled machine, and when we're functioning, and when the entire team is pointed in the same direction, and we're working for the people. And I think we're in a place right now in Salisbury's history where we're doing that better than we have in a long time. No organization's perfect, but refining my organization has been a focus for the last 4 years.
Well, the one thing that's always stood out for me, Jake, is the fact, if anybody, I've heard people say the same thing. They hear me talk and they hear me run my mouth, and I'll say like, man, you should run for office, or man, you should be a pastor, and they say all these things, these bold statements, and I'm like, I don't think that's the leadership role that I play. I think I'm more on ground zero with the people. I think I connect more with the people. I don't see myself indulging in that in the future. I don't see myself, and I'll never limit myself, but I don't see myself taking that avenue. I think I see myself more of a gap bridger, and being able to say, see the significance. And I think that's one of the biggest thing I've been so impressed with you over your course of the time you've been mayor. Is, man, I watch you. I mean, you go and shake hands with every single person. And I know that's got to be at sometimes like, man, I just want to go home to my family. I just want to be a regular person. But when you have that leadership responsibility, I don't think that's an option. You're going and I've seen you remember people's names that, I know you've had brief interactions with, people that I know, and you come right up and know their names right away. I don't think people understand how significant it is for somebody to have that, and I don't feel, I haven't seen that before. I haven't seen that kind of one-on-one interaction, that kind of that realness, just being real with the people that you're representing. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you. I take that as a compliment. I do want to say 3 things real quick. One, that skill set that you identify in yourself, or that other people identify in yourself, to be able to connect with people and communicate with people, that's a powerful thing that it can be used for good in politics. It can be used for good in the church. It can be used for good in the community. Whatever venue you choose to use that skill set in, it doesn't necessarily have to be politics, but it can change how people perceive things. So that communication skill, that's what it boils down to. That ability to connect with people and bridge gaps and get people to be able to synthesize ideas and what's going on. It's the same reason why professional coaches are good at what they do.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just their play calling. It's not just their prowess on the field or on the court or whatever. They're able to get people to believe and to go do something.
Right.
That's what leadership is all about, getting people to do something collectively that they otherwise might not want to do, because it's not necessarily in their self-interest, but it's in the team interest. It's in the community interest. It's in the mission interest. The second thing I wanted to say was, my abilities there, I don't deny that I have some capacity there. I'm very self-critical, as we probably all are, but I think that's how we get better at what we do, whether it's in sport, whether it's in politics, whether it's in business. That's part of how we get better at what we do. Is a lot of people who are doing well in their career are very hard on themselves, and I'm very hard on myself, and constantly trying to get better. And the last thing I wanted to say is, if we're going to be real for a second, you say you want to go home at the end of the night and be with your family. There's consequences to the amount of energy I put into this job, and it's not always easy on my wife, on my kids, on my extended family. It's not always easy. So there are consequences, and life's about balance. I learned that from my parents. My mom always said, don't just pick one thing. Do a lot of things, and there's certainly a balance even in that advice. But what I took from it was be well-rounded, right? Don't get so focused that you lose your family, right?
Yeah.
Don't get so caught up in work that you're not paying attention to your kids, things. So I'm constantly kind of trying to self-reflect and do a better job as a father, do a better job as a husband, do a better job as an elected official.
Like you said too, that having that skill set to be able to encourage people to do something, but you do it too. You don't just talk the talk; you walk the walk. Get something popping up on my news feed all the time. It's like, how does he get from one spot to another? You're out there in the community, you're doing things, you're shoulder to shoulder with people, not just, hey, we have this event, check it out. No, you're doing Facebook Live, and we're out here doing this, and an hour later you're somewhere else. And yeah, when do you sleep?
That's the one thing that I have willingly sacrificed, and I mean that, because I don't sit down a lot during the day. So in order to not be a year behind on email and voicemail and Facebook messages and all that. And oh, by the way, you got to respond to all that stuff now, because somebody sends you an Instagram direct message, they expect you to respond like they left a voicemail.
Oh, I saw it.
at your office.
I saw one, and you're like, you said, I think email would be better for this, because you didn't get back to him. I'm sure it was maybe
I
over.
didn't even see that. It was a post on my campaign
right.
page,
Yeah.
and I didn't see it. And I personally went in. A bunch of people can respond, but I went in and responded. I was like, "Sir, I didn't see that, and I'm sorry I missed it. If you want to make sure I see something, text me. I'll give you my cell phone number. Right. My cell phone number's out there in the world, but there are 1,000 ways to reach somebody today. But that's not to make that person feel bad, because the reality is, I think when you're in these jobs, 4 years ago, I would have said, Instagram direct message, a Twitter message, a Facebook. I'm not going to respond to that like I would with the urgency of voicemail. Today, I think you have to.
Absolutely.
So when I see that stuff, I got to get back to people that fast, because it doesn't matter. The rule of thumb that I've come to, and I share this with my staff constantly, is they found you. They had a problem, and they found you. So you get back to them.
And also, thank you, not just for being here, but being mayor of Salisbury, your service with the county, and also U.S. Army.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate it.
I find it
Blessed
funny
to have those
because
jobs.
I find it funny because I've heard I've heard the saying, well, all the things that, Jake Day is implementing with this downtown revitalization, or I don't even know how to say the word, but revitalization or whatever. I've only got a high education, so bear with me. We're going to do this. They were already in play a long time ago, and okay, maybe so. The plans are executed, but it takes execution. You can put any plan. We know this from the fight game. We can plan out the game all day long. And Mike Tyson made famous. Everybody's got a plan. You get punched in the face. Okay. Oh, what do I do? Endless amount of challenges have come up.
That's right.
With this downtown revitalization, correct?
Well, it's an
surprises.
awesome point, and I love the Mike Tyson quote, and we have a variation of that. So for 4 years I taught at the Army Officer Candidate School, which is the combat leaders course essentially. And we always say, look, you can be a soldier, but if you want to lead other people's children into battle, you're coming through us. And it's the one place that nothing's guaranteed. We don't have a quota. We don't have anything. We don't have a quota, so you're only getting through there if you get through the leadership evaluation in that 16-month school. And one of the things that we drill into their heads is what we say is no plan survives first contact with the enemy.
Right.
We insist on you being a good planner, but as soon as you get there, you better be able to adapt.
Absolutely.
And that's why we focus on the ability to make quick decisions, the ability to, don't stand on the X. That's long enough to get shot.
Yep.
Don't stand on the X. Do something.
Essentially,
Make
being
a
comfortable
decision.
with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Being able to be, quick
Adapt.
thinking, adaptability, and stuff like
That's
that.
right.
Absolutely.
And I think they pay me, and they don't pay me much, but they pay me to make decisions up
Right.
there. That's my job. They don't pay me to be the best police officer or the best firefighter or the best engineer. I got people for that. They pay me to make decisions. And so my job in there is to make decisions, to make them quickly with the information I have. And so that's what I try to do. But if there's people out there that say these things were in the works, some of them have been in the works a long time. Mm-hmm. Some of them even before I lived back in Salisbury, before I had moved back here. 2008 is when the business community of downtown Salisbury developed their Main Street plan through Urban Salisbury. 2008. And so when people say to me now, I'll have occasionally somebody saying like, well, can we change that? Or it's like, no, it's been in the works for 11 years. The time to change it was 11 years ago. And so they're right. And I was on city council. I wasn't the mayor when we funded the Main Street work, the $13 million Main Street work. I wasn't the mayor. I wasn't the boss. I was just the guy, running the council and the budget. And I supported the mayor at the time, his vision. I also supported the fact that it's what the business community asked for and the property owners asked for. And they asked for it not just because they wanted a prettier street. They asked for it because they were tired of week after week, month after month, pipes breaking and having to deal with the consequences of that in their buildings. And 100-year-old pipes, let me tell you, they do not last a winter.
Let's stress that.
Yeah.
100-year-old pipes. 100 years. People don't get that, man.
And nowhere else, not even one street over, nowhere else in the city do we have pipes that old.
Right.
Right here. That's it. And they got to get replaced. They had to get replaced, and we knew that. And I'll tell you what, we got 60-year-old pipes in Fitzwater Street that are about to get replaced too. That's a $6 million project. That's a massive project. The first funding for that work actually went in under Barry Tillman and has been sitting in an account.
Wow.
And then more money went in under Ireton and has been sitting in an account. And we have now fully funded it. Designed it, contracted it. Construction has already started. You see folks out there working on the sidewalks.
Yep.
I don't get to decide which order in which they do certain things. So some people have said, well, shouldn't they fix the road first and then the side? But they're contractors. They're paid to figure this out in the correct pattern.
I'll tell you, too, people in Salisbury can be happy, sad, like it, don't like it, whatever's going on down here. But I was in Crisfield last week, and I talked to a business owner, and we started talking about Salisbury, and she said, wish we had a Jake Day because they're trying to get things done. And I was like, that's pretty powerful. That's a business owner down there going, yeah, I wish we had somebody like that behind things, pushing to get things done.
Well, it's easy to come behind anybody's work and pick out every little flaw. You could do that in any profession. I could sit there and look at every little thing. Well, you missed this and you missed that. And it's even easier to give an opinion about stuff that you don't know. You know what I mean? Well, it should be like this. This isn't inconvenient. I don't think people, I read a Simon Sinek quote where it's not the fact that people don't like change. People like change. People don't like drastic change. And when it happens, with lack of leadership and lack of communication, like we talked about, and lack of execution, people can't conform to that change. And then all of a sudden, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it looks so great out here, Mr. Mayor!" You know what I mean? Clapping and applauding. I mean, it's like,
And the reality, it's not drastic either because it's been going on for.
but
it's been in the works for how many years? Most of it. A lot of it.
I will admit though, a lot of stuff is happening, in one period of time.
Yeah.
And I think what I'd say in response to that is, that's fair enough. If that's hard for people to deal with because it's sort of rapid change, that's fair enough. But I don't have time for anything else. I don't think you do either. I don't think any of us do, because there are people making investments every single day. The biggest thing that's changing is behind the facades, behind the walls. It's the business community. It's in downtown. It's our business community. There is so much that's been happening. We got 250,000 square feet under construction right now. Now that Vernon Palace started construction today,
which is going to be a beautiful project.
Oh, I can't wait. We're sitting, just down the
Beautiful.
street from this thing. 20 new apartments, 10,000 square feet of the Main Street Kids business. So excited about that. So we're sitting here right across the street from that. Got 250,000 square feet around downtown, recently and currently under construction. And, it means Mogan's Oyster House. It means Angelo's, Scoops, ice cream shop, and
Dead
gift
Stock.
shop.
Dead Stock's been going for a
Dead
while.
Stock. It means
Mojo's.
stuff going on at City Center.
Yes.
The expansion at Rody Joe's. Mojo's new facade there, the indoor-outdoor. That's so cool.
Well, the whole One Plaza building.
The whole One Plaza East building.
It's great. And again, and people see the downtown because that's the main focus, but you're also doing so much more throughout the entire community, the entire Salisbury. It's not just limited downtown. And I love that. I love how you said, behind the closed doors things is what people, nobody sees that. Nobody understands that there's meetings upon meetings. There's decisions being made that, most of us can't even understand what's going on. They can't even, the average person doesn't understand what's going on here. Why they're making this, why they're doing this, why they're not, the contractor's taking so long.
But you said it, and you're right. That's why communication's important.
Absolutely.
You're 100% right. So when I think about where we were 4 years ago, we didn't even have a city Facebook page. Today we get over 200,000 hits a week on all our social media platforms. So you think about that. I mean, that's so many interacts, right? That we weren't having before. That's different ways of touching a citizen. Now, not all of them are in Salisbury, but that's different ways of interacting with a citizen that we weren't doing. I'm hopeful some of them aren't in Salisbury. I hope some of them are tourists or somebody who's considering being here that isn't today. So I'm excited about that. The other thing I want to point out is, we talk about downtown a lot because downtowns matter. And we didn't get ours right for a long time. And any city in North America, they can tell you, any city in the world, but in North America, we seem to have trouble with this. In North America, in Canada, and in the United States, we failed our downtowns for a long time. We failed the centers of our city that were the center of commerce. And the reason why they were the center of commerce is because it made sense. You put things at the middle, it means it's more accessible to everybody. You put the stuff that's important in the middle. That's why you put your courthouse. That's why you put your, the shopping street traditionally, right? That's why you put corporate headquarters and skyscrapers and all those things in a bigger scale than us, obviously. But the center matters. The center matters. It says, this is what's important. This is what our community values. That's what we're going to put right there. And so when you walk away from it, it says, we don't know what we value. We don't know what's important to our community anymore. So I don't think of downtown as a neighborhood. I think of it as sort of a community asset. It belongs to everybody. If you're west side, east side, north side, south side, this is yours. Whether you're, in Doverdale or Camden or Church Street or, California, it doesn't matter. This is yours. This belongs to you. So let's get this right for the people, for everybody. And most of the credit goes to, now, yes, I realize some degree of leadership is required, but most of the credit really goes to the small business community.
Oh, absolutely.
They're the ones doing it.
Absolutely. They're the ones that are having to, stick their feet in the sand, grit their teeth and bear it while all the stuff goes down. But they all understand the bigger picture. And that's what I love about downtown is the downtown residents and businesses are a community in themselves. Once we get that understanding, and I've said this for years before any of this stuff happened. Not that I'm anybody. I was like, dude, I remember as a kid, downtown was so fun. You know what I mean? Why don't we build up downtown and then everything around of it builds up? And you're seeing that like Philadelphia right now. Right now, the outskirts of Philadelphia is the prime real estate for building up because it's so hectic and so much going on downtown and downtown city Philly that you have to do these outside areas and outside projects. So I love it.
Philly's crazy.
Yeah.
Philly's crazy. There aren't many places in the U.S. anymore where you're seeing new skyscrapers getting built.
Right.
They are in Philly.
Man, it's
Darn
it's
Philly.
awesome. One thing I wanted to point out, I think this was a while back on a Facebook post. I'd commented. So when the big election was going on, with Hillary and Trump and all that stuff, and everybody was losing their minds, especially on Facebook, and everything was going on.
Still losing their minds.
They still are, but let's not emphasize that point. Jeez. But everybody's losing their minds, and we were starting to not like people and stuff like that. I would say things to my class, my conditioning class. I have a very diverse conditioning class, and I would hear, everybody come in and mention the Trump thing or mention the Hillary thing or build a wall, don't build a wall, all this stuff, right? I'm like, guys, does anybody know who ran against Jake Day last year or last election? Or no, first I asked him, does anybody know your name of your mayor, right? And I heard a couple of Iredens. I'm like, well, no, we were 2 elections late. And you got that stare, right? I'm like, okay. I said, well, it's Jake Day, for instance. Does anybody know who ran against him last election? And again, this stare. People are looking at me like, I'm crazy. I'm like, no one. Out of all the people, and I support you and what you've done. So don't misunderstand me. I think you're the right man for the job, and still are. But I still find it odd that out of all the people in Salisbury, no one wanted to challenge you. No one, and it's not about challenging you. It's about saying, I want to be a leader.
Yeah.
Even more disturbing, and I don't know the exact numbers, and I don't know exact numbers I was looking at, but I know basically what I was looking at was around 100,000 people in population of Salisbury, and I could be wrong. You guys probably know this better. And about 4,000 people have only voted. So you probably know better. But the point I'm trying to say is that there's such a minimal amount of people that are showing up to these elections wanting stuff done, but then you ask them who they vote for when the big election we talked about, and everybody rushed to the polls. Dude, get off TV, get off Facebook, go outside. I think it's so important, especially for people, 20s to 30s to 40s, where maybe politics isn't the biggest agenda in their life, to find out what's going on in your local neighborhoods and get to the polls. You know what I mean? You're not going to make the change. Let's not say your vote don't matter, but your vote isn't the biggest vote when you're talking about the nation politics. Your vote is huge, showing up, voting for your local politics. Jake's going to go to Annapolis and he's going to fight for us. Jake's going to go and do these things.
On that note, too, I mean, if people have asked him, is he Republican or Democrat? Or it's like, don't know, don't care. No. But I mean, what does it matter? Because I see what he's doing. I know what he's doing. We've worked together, on something. Skate park. Thank you very much. And other things. And like, he's getting things done.
It's
he's
a
getting
nonpartisan
good
election.
things done. Yeah, exactly.
And that is part of our downfall in terms of participation, because people show up for presidential elections. Mm-hmm. But for our election, it's an off-year election, and the whole idea behind the off-year was to separate it from politics, from left and right, and red and blue, and R&D. But at the end of the day, it also means people don't get as excited about it.
Yeah.
And so if there's not a national election to drive turnout, then local election is really just the people who do care, and the people who are tuned into what's going on in their community. But you're so right about that. Nobody else ran. And this time, I mean, there's 2 real benefits that I see to having an opponent this time. Number one is that I think turnout will be better. I think more people care because they're paying attention. There is a race. When there was no race, what's the motivator?
Right.
What's the motivator? How motivated do people get about their city council district race? Not too excited, unfortunately. So, you need the mayoral election to kind of drive turnout. Well, and it didn't happen last time. Mm-hmm. So I think there's that. The second thing is we ought to put our ideas on the table and debate.
Yes.
Right? So nobody's going to agree 100%. And I'm grateful that there is somebody that disagreed enough to say, I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to show up, regardless of what I think about it. I'm glad he's done that. And, aside from those 2 things, I also think that it's worth pointing out that even when you agree on virtually everything, still show up and still stand up and say, but I think I'd be a better leader. And so when I ran for city council in 2013, Jack Heath and I each ran. Neither of us had talked to the other. I didn't know who the man was. He was, a longtime leader in the community. I just didn't know him, and I that's not to offend him or anything like
Right.
that. But I learned that he was a great man, and we could almost finish each other's sentences. We virtually agreed on everything. Unfortunately, only one of us could win that election, and he joined the council later, filling a vacancy, and then became an elected council person, and then president of the council. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be about diametrically opposed people when it's about stepping up to lead your community. Step up because you bring the skills, and that's what Jack did. Jack said, "I'm going to stand up." So Jake Day had just announced like 2 days before. He didn't care. He didn't know who I was. He didn't care. He said, "Sure, I might agree with that young man, but I'm a better leader. Here I go."
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
are you now, or have you ever been a progressive?
Wasn't that the best? And my answer to that was,
I loved your
what-
answer to that.
What did I say? I
That's
said,
why- that's why-
in the
yes.
sense that I like to make progress. Yes.
Right.
It's so funny though. Progressive was a term that I didn't mind using, and I liked using for a long time. And I thought it was like describing like, I want to get stuff done, And then all of a sudden it became this co-opted term of, some pretty far left ideas, right? And I'm not trying to criticize, the folks, mostly young people, but also folks like Bernie Sanders, right? I'm not trying to criticize them for using that term. I don't know that it necessarily means the same thing that I thought it meant when I was embracing it. But at the same time, if people want to stick me into a category, if people want to classify me one way or the other, go right ahead. That doesn't matter to me.
People do that with everybody anyway.
Right. I'm
Everybody
me.
sitting here is probably pigeonholed some way, shape, or form by somebody, whether we know it or not.
Me? No one has talked about
Oh,
that.
I put my name on a ballot 3 times, and every time it's been with no party affiliation next to it. And I'm not ashamed of my party affiliation. I'm a registered Democrat. I've been a registered Republican in my life. I've been a registered Independent in my life. Right now that's the closest thing that aligns to me. But I would say I'm a unique person. I'm in the military. I own many guns. I have some conservative tendencies. I have some moderate tendencies. I have some progressive tendencies. I'm all over the map, and I don't know if I ever run for office where I have to declare party affiliation.
Man, what
it's
are you
going to
gonna
be a
do?
little uncomfortable. But I'll do it. But I want to be me. I want to be considered for what I say, what I do, how I lead, and not for what group I get pushed into.
Yeah, we need that.
Well, I think that's a beautiful example of one leadership that we're talking about. Standing by what you believe in, not necessarily what the party pushes you to, and also evolution. We need to evolve as a country, as a people, all the above. We need to evolve into what's happening now. We're not doing the same thing 100, 200 years ago. We're not thinking the same. So I do love that a lot. Tell us about some events coming up. What's going on?
We got all sorts of things happening.
Okay.
So on Tuesday, I don't know when this will air, so it might be past that, but I'm going to
Wednesday.
say it anyway.
Wednesday,
Okay, all
yeah.
right. So then, if this is Wednesday, yesterday we had the ribbon cutting for the mural at Church Street.
How did we do that, folks?
It was great. Turnout was amazing. It was sunny. Like the food was good. Everybody was crying. It was beautiful. No,
Wait, food?
Yeah.
Wait, is it 3 o'clock?
Somebody go
Five.
live.
Okay.
Somebody go live.
That's something I'm really proud of, because what we did was we took a site that this city was, I think, it didn't represent the best of us, and it certainly didn't represent the best of a neighborhood. And Church Street neighborhood, look, has been down on its luck for a long time, and has not been given the investment or care from property owners, from the city, from residents, from anybody that it deserves. And it is Maryland. It is the only Maryland historic district in the city of Salisbury, which most people wouldn't guess, because you drive through and say, what's to save? What's historic? A lot of it's gone. There's a couple things, but Maryland historic districts have fewer rules than, say, a city historic district. We got Camden and Newtown and downtown, and all that is protected by city law. But that neighborhood ought to be something, and it ought to get investment and care. So we created the Truett Street Community Center, the city's first city-owned community center for kids for after-school
That
weekend.
is open.
That is open, and it's open every day. And we've got a partnership. We've got a bunch of partnerships in there. Salisbury Pride Lions is in there after school and weekends. Chesapeake Healthcare is in there all summer and throughout the school year during the day. And then we also do some dance classes we've got in there, basketball programs. And then what we're really excited about is we've got a partnership with the Maryland Food Bank coming up where there's going to be a hot meal for every child that walks through those doors 365 days a year.
Nice.
And we are super excited. And credit goes to Maryland Food Bank for that, for making that happen.
And hats off to Jamichael Mitchell, man. He has been a staple in this community for a long, long time, man.
And now works for the city, runs our youth programming, is an incredible asset.
Yeah.
He's just done such a fantastic job.
Guys, I've known him for years, man. I mean, decades. We went to the same elementary school together, and just so impressed with that young man and what he's been able, his vision and his ideas and his passion for his community, man.
Yes.
They run a line.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing.
Well, he and I sat down a long time ago and just said, like, what can we do together for this community? And we started to identify a path, and it's become solid. It took time, and it's become this really great partnership. And then we eventually found this piece of property, right? That somebody had just bought. They ended the lease for the shop Sextile, and they closed that business. They sold the building to us for $10,000. We tore it down, cleared the site. We've spent time cleaning it up, and then we ultimately got the Wisner family to allow a mural on its facade. And then we went out to the neighborhood. We didn't ask all of Salisbury. We went to the neighborhood.
Where it affected the most.
It's their neighborhood. And we said, who's important to you? We brought in historians who talked and they shared things, and then the community shared. And then ultimately they started drawing pictures of who they wanted and wrote names. And then ultimately we put that out there to artists. We had a competition and then had a panel of artists select. And Paul Sketch Boyd got selected, has done a beautiful job. And then thanks to Lowe's and Jimmy John's and a whole bunch of other folks who have donated, Alton Brothers, who've donated, made that plaza possible to beautify. So the ribbon cutting for that was yesterday, Tuesday. And tonight is the State of the City address, 6 p.m. On Wednesday is the State of the City address at Salisbury University. That's where I kind of give an annual update. Per the city charter, I'm required to do that at 4th floor, Academic Commons, Salisbury University, 6 p.m. So I'll give my State of the City address and update the council and the public on how the last year has gone, what we've accomplished. And then November 5th, please go out and vote. Before we get back to November 5th, trick-or-treating, Halloween is Thursday. And I think 5:30 to 9:30 is the hours of Halloween in the city. But if it rains, we're going to be putting out a press release about it moving to Friday. Okay. But then, November 5th, Tuesday, November 5th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you want to know where to vote, go to salisbury.md and go to elections. You can put in your address and you can find where your polling location is. But 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. if you're in the city, we can't do this without you. This is not people making decisions in an ivory tower. We need to do this as a community. That's how we've been strong over the last few years. That's how we're going to get stronger. More people getting involved.
I love it. What could we expect from you? A couple of your main agendas once you get elected.
Yeah. So you want to know what the next 4 years is going to look like? Look at the last 4. That's the best indicator.
Love it.
There's a guy who always wraps his arms around me and has been a bit of a mentor and very kind. Former Senator Jim Mathias, and Jim always, after he gives you a hug, he sticks his finger in your face and he says, "Deeds, not words." He says, "I'm here. I'm doing right." And he's right. He's like, it's too easy in this world to run your mouth. It's a lot harder to actually show up and get stuff done. And I'm sure in your line of work, you know that.
I know when you said that to me, I was looking at my coach like, don't you tell me that all the time. Minus the hug. I don't get the hug from him.
He was staring right at you.
Smacks in my face. You better do more than stop running your mouth. I'm like, yes, coach, I'm sorry.
Well, so exactly. You get it. You get
Yes.
it. Coach, you get it.
I do.
So I think, over the next 4 years, we're going to continue to focus on finding those strategic investments that we can make in our neighborhoods that are small but transformative, that inspire people to participate themselves, take a little better care of their house, do a little bit, better job as a neighborhood, focusing on that neighborhood-owned lot. You know, the things that we do not only have their intrinsic value, but they can have the value of impacting how other people feel about their neighborhood. You're going to see us starting construction on the rail trail, north-south, and the first neighborhood where we're starting that construction is actually Church Street, too. That's a linkage that, for us, runs Del Mar to Fruitland, but we're learning that the state of Virginia is building out a rail trail that goes all the way from the Accomack-Worcester County line all the way to Cape Charles. So, I mean, it's possible we could have a trail that goes all the way down to Cape Charles to the Chesapeake.
And I grew up on the north side, right by the railroad tracks, and that was exactly how we got across town. The quickest way, is, take that with your four-wheeler that you weren't supposed to drive on the road. Anyway, long time ago, Mr. Man. Long time ago.
Of course.
No, but that's great, man. That's really awesome, man. Really,
you're
man.
You're going to see a lot more announcements in the next, and this is actually just in the next coming weeks after the election, I believe, if we're successful. And these things are going to happen no matter what. We've got some announcements getting ready to happen with respect to some jobs, some really exciting things getting ready to come here to town. We've been lucky. We've added 2,700 jobs in the last 4 years. Unemployment's down to 3.8%. And I see it dropping even further. Hopefully, knock on wood, we're gonna ride this next when this country has a recession. I don't think it's going to be a severe one, but when we do, and when because that's what happens with economies, they're cyclical. We'll get through it. I think we're going to get through it better than the other places, and that's been our history. But I think this time it's going to be a shallower curve for us, and we're going to ride right back up. I believe it. Things are looking good in our economy. I want to continue to fight the fight for our homeless. We've housed 33 chronically homeless people. They were on the streets for more than a year. They are permanently housed. They have a lifetime commitment from the city of Salisbury. Wow. And I want to continue that work.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate you being on here. Guys,
Pleasure.
please go out and vote November 5th. Like I said, what was the website to look up?
Salisbury.md.
That'll tell you which poll to go to. If you agree or even if you don't agree, please, your vote matters. It's so important to get out there and start making the changes. Show up to the council meetings. I would have not invited Mr. Mayor on here if I didn't believe that he was a champion in such a way. And everything you said was great. So that'll wrap up our first half of the segment.
Well, it's been an honor, gentlemen.
Well, thank you, brother.
It's been an honor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been an honor to have you.
Thanks, Jake.
All right, guys, that'll take us for Champ Talk number 4. Look forward to this coming out. And Eric Evans, you had a lot to say today. I'm glad we let you talk. Chet, thank you for coming. Again, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Guys, what are you doing today to become a champion?